G'day everyone, I'm back with my next Overwatch World Cup 2019 video, which today will be focusing on the highly requested Team Australia, who historically have always had a presence at this event, but have never really been able to shine or progress very far. Last year, it was a familiar story for the team and their fans, as they beat out both Sweden and Denmark in their qualifiers to book their spot at BlizzCon, behind Team China, where they were unsurprisingly knocked out by South Korea in the quarterfinals in a spirited 3-0 defeat. This quarterfinal elimination was not their first, as the side almost produced the upset of 2017, taking Canada to 5 maps in a fantastic battle that were just edged out in the end. Australia's committee remains largely the same as last year, for RQT and Goomba staying on as general manager and head coach respectively, with the one change coming at the community lead position, where Frogger has replaced Oasis. With a consistent history of making BlizzCon, Team Australia has been handed the 7th seed, and they'll be supported by Blizzard should they qualify. But just like the UK, Sweden and Finland, I've already covered, they are going to have to qualify for the World Cup this year for a single elimination bracket. As custom, I'll just be focusing in on crafting a 7-man roster for who I think will make Team Australia this year. Obviously, please take into account that a lot of this research has been centred around a limited amount of footage and research into the best Australian contenders teams, so unlike the other sides I've covered so far, I won't be entirely confident I'm accurate with ages or that I've included all the best talent, so please let me know if I've missed out down in the comments below. The main tank position likely comes down to a straight decision between Trill, the Dallas Fuel, and Quartz of Team Order. Trill came on to a lot of people's radars after last year's World Cup in 2018, where he was one of the standout players, particularly for his ability on Wrecking Ball, who had just been released, making one of the few players who effectively and regularly used him at the time. This netted him tryouts with Overwatch League and North American contenders teams, battling through his ping issues as he was still based in Australia. Eventually he was picked up by Team Envy and contributed heavily towards the team winning their first season of North American contenders this year, which then set the wheels in motion for his eventual pickup by Dallas, who have been playing him lately as OGE takes a break from action. Whilst he's looked a little shaky since his move to the Overwatch League, his Ryan and Winston play has shown potential and promise, and with the fact that he's been involved in the Australian setup at main tank for the past 2 years, he's clearly the favourite here. Quartz, meanwhile, might not have made the leap from Australian contenders yet, but he has consistently been performing at a high level regardless. With the Sydney Drop Bears and now Team Order, he's won every single season of Australian contenders, with the only exception being at the end of 2018, where he and his team finished second. Just from watching a few VODs of his play, his Ryan and Winston appear really solid and strong. He's kept at a consistent level that has helped his team and left a good impression, even if they were outclassed at the Pacific Showdown. Of course, if he dominated the trials, I wouldn't rule out Quartz making the side, but based on the fact that he's already had experience and developed synergy with the national side, as well as the fact that he's now progressed to the Overwatch League, I'd have to choose Trill for this position. At Flex Chank, the choice seems to be universally clear, with the majority seeing Punk as the outright favourite. Like Trill, he was seriously impressive at the position last year, and consequently landed himself a spot on the Uprising Academy, where he's continued to impress and improve with a good diva. Like Trill, the fact that he was part of a setup last year, and thus will have developed a synergy with him and the rest of the team, just increases his already high chances of making the side, and he would be my personal choice. Obviously, I'm not too well versed in the whole Australian setup, so I'm not sure who else could seriously compete here, with Orders Adam underage after the new age limit of 18 being imposed for this year, despite the fact that I really liked his play, and the only other name I know of being Shoyo of the Sydney Drop Bears, but I doubt he could break into the side. I'm almost certain that Custer isn't competing for Team Australia this year, otherwise he would hands down be my selection for this position. Seemingly the options are quite lacking here, with notable names like Frogger obviously not competing. So what I've done is take the two main supports from the historically best Australian contenders team in Unter and Flura as the most likely candidates, though admittedly I'm not entirely sure of their ages and whether they are eligible or not. From this pair, I'd have to select Unter, having seen some of his Lucio play at the Pacific Contenders Showdown, and whilst it didn't blow me away, it seemed serviceable, whilst his name has certainly given a few of his Aussie fans a chuckle. And given he's been a part of Team Order for the best part of a year, clearly the team is happy with him and achieved success alongside him with his inclusion, so he'd have to be my pick here. Flex Support, meanwhile, has a more interesting contest between Order's Jordation and a Kraken from Sydney Drop Bears. I have no idea whether Jordation is of eligible age. What I can say is that his Zenyatta play has impressed me from the footage I've seen. He is a fragger with good accuracy, probably helped by the fact that he was originally a DPS player and has now since swapped to this position, from which he has found recent success on Order, winning the most recent season of Australian contenders. A Kraken, meanwhile, is just eligible as he turns 18 in September. He established himself far more as a regular on the Sydney Drop Bears, which has seen him find plenty of success on the Australian contender scene, and he was also a member of the national side for last year's World Cup, so has the experience and synergy edge in terms of his chances of making the side. And it's this difference I ultimately see as a deciding factor in determining a Kraken as my choice, although here is another position, like so many others, that could easily have a great impetus placed upon the trial performance of the players. In terms of filling out the 3 players that I take at the DPS position, it makes sense to first look at those selected last year. Of course, the first thing to note is I don't believe CKM will be competing after his recent retirement, which is a shame as I would likely have chosen him. Huss, however, remains an option and would be my first selection, primarily for his experience he certainly will be able to bring to the side after being on the team last year and enjoying continued success since then on the Sydney Drop Bears, including an Australian contenders crown, where he now plays for Warriors Esports. To complement him, it seems a no-brainer to bring back Yuki as well for another year in the national side, with it interesting that he was also involved in the inaugural Overwatch World Cup way back in 2016, where he got to play alongside the transcendental talents of the game, like Muselk's Lucio. That said, like Huss, he's continued to improve and find success with his team, Order, with the synergy amongst the majority of his teammates here a clear and obvious factor in its inclusion. But to round out the side with a Hitscan and Widowmaker player, I'd, following some recommendations, bring back Tup to the side, having been on Team Australia in 2017. He's found success in the early part of 2019 on the Chinese contender side, Team CC, finishing 3rd of the Land Story Cup, and then subsequently in the first Chinese contenders season of this year. And so he has the experience in the national setup, and has shown his quality of late to deserve his spot here as a 3rd DPS option. But let me know who else you guys might have chosen. So to just recap who I've selected for Team Australia, I'd go for Trill at main tank, Punk flex tank, Unter at main support, a Kraken at flex support, and then Huss, Yuki, and Tup as my DPS trio to round out the side. Whilst I'm not sure that the side is good enough to get any further than the BlizzCon group stage, there is enough talent here for them to make it out of the initial qualification in my eyes. But I hope, just like last year with Trill and Punk, that the Australian contenders players that get a shot here this year will really get an opportunity to show off their talents to a wider audience and progress their careers, in the same way that I reckon this will happen for a team like Sweden, with the progression of fresh, young Overwatch talent only a positive for the scene moving forward. And with that, we reach the end of my Team Australia Overwatch World Cup video, and I'd like to thank you for watching. I'll be back again soon with Russia next to round out the top 10 seeds, before I then enter the national chaos. So if you enjoyed and don't want to miss out, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for this continuing competitive Overwatch coverage and content. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.